It's going up inside. Hey, Brian.
Oh, well, you know, stuff happens.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Can make a copper basket.
Right, yeah. Okay, making English ivy baskets today. There's two different growth patterns that ivy has. There's vertical and horizontal. So ivy that's growing horizontally on a wall or up a tree, often where I'm in Oregon, I'm harvesting around trees. It's all over the forest floor. Super invasive in Oregon, not so invasive here, which is kind of nice. But the difference between the horizontal and the vertical makes a big difference in basket weaving. If it's growing vertically, it's going to be brittle, and that's not good for baskets at all. If it's growing horizontally, and this is a little confusing because this looks horizontal, but what's happened is it's grown up and then wanted to grow horizontal, but it didn't have a horizontal place, so it's growing back down. So on a tree, you wouldn't have this. It would just go up, 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 up. But this is more what you would find on the ground, and it's supple, which is what we need for basket weaving.
I like the idea of basket weaving a lot because they're a very ancient kind of container made with natural materials. And we want to get away from using things like plastic and metal. So I know the ladies down at the lake, or maybe the guys too, make baskets out of lake reeds, but nobody around here makes them out of this. Now, these are more decorative, they're not quite as strong, but apparently they're good for teaching people about baskets. So we're going to start with these, and we're also going to investigate any other kind of plant we can make baskets out of. Now in this case, I have English ivy growing all over this casita. Now it's not actually invasive here, but in this particular spot, it's in a spot I don't want it. So it's sort of invasive in a sense. It's growing into the roof, and then there's animals living in the roof, and ants and bugs and who knows what. So I'm going to pull all that off there, and hopefully a lot of it will be useful for basket making. I also want to save some of it because I'd like to use a lot of it for cuttings when the rains come. Because since it isn't, directly invasive here, I want lots more English ivy for whatever use we can come up with. I'm risking my life for basketry. I actually don't like going up on high places at all. These are flowers of the English ivy. I have not seen these before, and one of the reasons I haven't thought English ivy is that invasive is because it doesn't spread very quickly at all. I mean, the ones I put in 12 years ago have barely survived. However, if the birds eat those seeds and spread them, then some of those seeds are going to end up in places where English ivy wants to grow really well. And I haven't seen a lot of English ivy around here, so I want to make sure I'm not the guy that introduced an invasive plant to the area. So it's a little tempting to get rid of it entirely, or at least keep a very, very close watch on it, to have a little bit of fear about what I'm introducing to the environment. Somebody can say you brought it over because it's pretty.
It's a long one.
More. Wow. Yeah, if you guys. So Willow doesn't. Sorry, Willow is what I normally make baskets with. Ivy does not need. The nice thing about ivy is you can harvest it and make a basket the same day. Mostly they're like an altar basket, something that's not more utilized for carrying things as being something that you're going to put something small in. Do you want to grab that ivy basket that I played with a few weeks back? I like a lot about ivy. It's just you can harvest it and get it ready to make a basket and make a basket all in one day, often 5 hours or something like that. This is one that I played with when I first got here. It's very dry now. Not sturdy, like it wouldn't be a market basket. It's just not sturdy enough. I'd never made this style of basket before, so I was just playing with ivy because it's what I had, and so you can make a lot of containers, but they're a container that you would place somewhere and put something in, not something that you would carry around a lot. The ivy, to prepare it for making a basket, you just simply pull the leaves off. So I like to have gloves and just pull them off. That is ready, already prepared to make into a basket. So you do this with, I don't know, a couple dozen strands about that length, and you could have a nice small little basket. One thing to know about ivy is some people are allergic to it. I'm not, but I always tend to wear gloves when I'm doing things. But it's something to be aware of. I can't remember, it's not just like the roughness or whatever. There's actually something that people have allergic reactions to ivy occasionally. We are removing the leaves from the ivy from the big pile from the side of the casita. It's very simple. Just slide down the ivy with your hands and the leaves come off. Tender, supple is what you want. Elements, we're going to do 2 elements to start with, and it's called pairing. When there's 3 or more, it's called wailing, which is what I use in the willow often, and it just makes a nice tight weave. If it's a weave over under just like that, it's not as strong as this. So this, you weave one behind in front, and then you're exchanging it for the next one behind in front, and they're actually twisting. You can see there's a bit of a twist there. Okay. Yeah, so that's the weave that we're doing. I think we should all have some chocolate covered espresso beans.
Give us the energy and motivation.
Let's do that.
Yeah, so I have a kid, and I've been around a lot of kids with sticks and things like that. I have a term that I use, safety circle. If I can touch you with something that extends my body or my body itself, and I'm like dancing around like crazy, then you're in my safety circle. And the same for somebody else. If someone else has something and they're spinning around, then I don't want to enter their safety circle, meaning it won't be safe if I get too close to them necessarily. So I use that with basketing because there's a point in time before the uprights go up that your safety circle gets bigger. If I'm doing willow, it can be easily 6 foot, 10 feet around before I do my uprights up. It can be maybe our second basket or whatever. But you want to have a handful of maybe, let's see. So we're going to do 3 by 3 to start with, and those will be our uprights. We want them to be a little bit thicker than our weavers that go around, and we want them to all be pretty similar. So you're going to pick 6 out of this that are pretty similar, and that's what you will start with, and for your uprights. And then you will pick weavers that don't have to be quite as similar. And I think that's going to give me more than enough for my uprights. So let's all individually get 6 that are similar. I'm going to think maybe 2 feet long. So like a couple of these, can give me more than one
So this is
upright.
at least 2 right here.
Yeah, that's going to give you at least 2, yes. And, the natural shape of the ivy, like this, that'll help you make kind of what I call a wonky basket, which can be really cool. It has its own, it has its own style,
Sure.
right? So it's not necessarily perfectly like
But it takes its own
round,
shape.
or it takes its own shape. So, that can be something you pay attention to if you want more organic or less organic. And let's all kind of sit in a circle a little bit out of the sun. Sun will make it dry out and not last as long. The nice thing about ivy is you can get a bucket of warm water and put it in there for an hour, you know, if it goes dry, and use it right away. Whereas willow, it takes days and days to get it, you know, from the dry again.
So I was just going to cut these basically in half
Yeah,
and then have
yeah. That's
my
perfect.
6.
So whatever size basket you want to do, one thing to pay attention to, so we're going to do baskets that are about like this, you know, and it could be smaller or a little wider, you know, depending on what it feels like for you. But on the top, we're going to have a little bit of bend over to do a rim, right? You can always add an upright next to an upright if you don't have enough space, but just think about that. If you want your basket to be this big, you're going to need your thing to be like 4 inches longer than that, right? So if you're making something small, if you're making something big, you're going to have to go even bigger. I recommend going smaller to start with, and then you can always go bigger next time when you're comfortable with all the techniques. So I'm wondering, like, make sure you can get a bend on whatever you're using for your upright, right? So that you can do the rim. Like, that's a bend without a break. There's also the technique, I don't have my knives with me, but I was mentioning to you earlier that you can take a pocket knife and like there's a break there. So this is a little bit more brittle. So if you take a knife and go vertical with it and vertical and twist, then you can typically get a bend in that spot without having a break. So that's a technique that we can use to do that. So it might be that we actually grabbed a little bit thicker than is gonna work for us, but we have lots of ivy, so we can just play and see what works.
So why do you guys want to learn how to make baskets?
I want to make baskets because I think it would be a very useful skill, and you can make things to carry anything in. So yeah, that's it.
The same thing.
In Spanish?
Ya, quiero hacer un basket porque tengo un gato enorme. Entonces quiero aprender con algo pequeño para después hacer algo muy grande para el gato.
Is this a good size?
Sure. Yeah. Your basket will be, you know, like 4 inches shorter than the, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure. So this ivy is really thick. I'm actually used to working with ivy that's quite a bit thinner. So we might find that we get started and, oh, we want to go even thinner. When I first learned how to use English ivy in baskets, my teacher said that if it's in the sun, it's going to grow thicker, much thicker. The supple stuff here is about the size I'm used to being my thick ivy back home in Oregon. So it'll be interesting to see what, you know, how it works for us. So we all have 6.
Yeah.
These are our uprights, and we are going to cross them just like this,
Okay.
just on top of each other. This is probably the most awkward part of making a basket, whether it's English ivy or the willow baskets that I make. When I do willow, we cut a hole through 3 of these and put them inside. But these are so flexible and so thin that just doesn't make sense to do that. So it's a different technique for willow baskets. So it's a little trickier to get started on these because when you have the hole and there's 3 going inside, they stay in place. We're going to have to make them stay in place until we get our weaving really going.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So we want to make sure they're all, reasonably equal, right, on the ends. And then I'm going to take a super supple one. Often the thinnest one that I have will be the one that I start with because we don't want it to break. It's going to be the only time that we're wrapping not quite 360, but over 180, if that makes sense.
So could you use like a string or something else for that?
Absolutely. Basketry, you can use anything that's flexible. Rope, twine. There's so many different kinds of baskets. I've seen baskets online now on Etsy, and they're actually quite beautiful, and they're made out of plastic bags. So people are recycling plastic bags to make baskets. Yeah, anything that's flexible. Go.
Coco, come here. She's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm very happy here.
Hi, puppy. Weave over all three instead of individually to start with. Okay, so I am wrapping my supple one around three of them. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So they're both going in the same direction. And I'm right-handed. I'm going to the right. That's how I'll be showing you. I apologize if you're left-handed. Off the set, Coco. Exactly. So they're both coming up, right? So you're always going to weave the one on the left next, right? So I'm going to take the one on the left, go over those three. The one on the right is coming up there though, right? Right? And this one is going to go down, under, and come up over here. And I'm going to turn it. So it looks exactly the same. This one's coming up here. So you're going to, are you left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay. So you're going that way and I'm going this way.
Okay, so this,
Uh-huh. And so this one goes down here and comes up on this side.
like this.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So now we're in the same spot. Okay, so I'm going to keep this one up. This one is going to go down and come. So it's going to go this way.
This one.
This one is going to go this way. And under these three and come up.
That like this.
Yeah, you got it. Yep. Okay, so turn it so it's just easier. So I'm coming up here, right? Yeah, you're going to be turning it.
Like this?
No, the other way. Yeah. Right? And so down. Oops, I'm getting grass woven in. So I'm going down and up over here.
Which one then?
Yep, this one.
And up over here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
And down.
And then do that so that you have two in each spot. So so this one comes up and then that one gets woven. Yep.
Okay.
Like that? And then this one goes down?
Yeah. And then comes up. Okay. So now you're going to add a new one, which is tricky because we're not quite all the way around. Ideally, we get all the way around a few times. So let's try to find. You know what I would do, because of where we're at. That isn't quite long enough. You want it to be stable before you add a new one. So I would undo that.
Okay.
And
So we had it like that.
So this is the other way. This is your Up, yep, and then that one, yeah. So it's locking it in place, is what it's doing. Okay. So you've got one all the way around. You're gonna do it again, so that you have two in each spot. Do you know does that make sense? That there's one in each spot?
Yeah.
You want two in each spot.
Okay.
So we're going till we have 2 over the 3 in each spot that the spokes come out. They come apart as easily. Okay. So now what you want to do is you're going to do the exact same weave that you've been doing, but so I'm ending, I've got 2 coming up, right? That's the second one here, right? So I'm going to start opening these up, and I'm going to go in between each and every one, right? So the one on the left is going to go down and then come up, right? And then the next one is going to go down, so over, under.
This one?
Nope. So
Oh, yeah.
it has to, I mean, yes, and this one comes up first. That one goes over here and under here.
Over here.
But this stays here.
And then down here.
Under here.
Under here.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then up.
And then up.
Yes. And then that one
And
goes
then this one.
over this one
Over this
and
one.
under this one.
So over this one, and then
Let
under,
me see where you...
right here.
Okay, but this one actually, that's your... Wait, move your other hand so I can see what you've got going. Okay, so this one is not woven yet. Unweave this one. This one comes up. So this one goes over 3, under 1.
Under one.
Yes.
Like that. Okay.
And then the next one, so just leave that one here. And this one goes over 1,
Over this one.
over 1,
Over one here.
under 1. And you just kind of, spread these with your fingers. And then this one goes over 1. And it's already kind of over it,
Yeah,
right?
and then
Naturally.
under.
And then under. Yep.
Like that.
Yeah, you guys are basket weavers. Yeah. And then you just keep doing
Just
it.
keep doing it,
Yeah,
okay.
just keep doing it until you're getting close to the end. Ideally, you don't end both of them at the same time. You want to end them slightly separate. Like mine here is slightly separate. I might even end this one a little earlier. You'll do the same thing because you're getting closer. He's got a little more space on his. Right? And they get tender and break too at the end. So do the sides of the willow baskets, I'm doing wailing, which is this weave with more, 3 or more, and randing, which is typically I'm weaving 24 at one time. I put 24 weavers in the basket, and each time you do a round, each one of those gets woven once. So it's way more complicated. To start, this is like the best way to start doing baskets, yeah. So I am running out of weaver, so I need to add a new one. And so I don't want it, we have really long pieces, which seems like, ideal for weaving. But if it's so long that it's getting in the way every time you go over under, it's not worth doing, right? You want to stop. I'm going to tell you something else in a second. And so I'm going to add a new one. And I think this is a pretty good length. That's maybe 2.5 feet. I wouldn't go much longer than that. But yeah, I want it long enough that I don't have to change every 2 times I go around. I want to go around a few times before I change to a new one. And so when you add one, and I'm going to just do this for the video. We'll do this again and again. So this one is the one that I'm adding to. It's getting to the point where it's probably going to break if I keep weaving it. So I put that one down so it does the over, but instead of doing the under and coming back up, I'm going to leave it down. And you just put another one where it would have come out. And the next time you weave your next one, it's going to lock it in place so you don't have to hold it. So that one goes over and under. And then that's done. The new one's in there. So you don't have a twist anymore. So you need to pay attention. And you can either take it out. It's not going to affect the basket to leave it, but you want the twist because the twist is the locking that helps. See how they're going next to each other here?
Yeah.
And see how mine are twisting? Do you see the difference between that? And so what the difference is, I'm going to go back just a smidge to here so you can see. So this one has to stay in.
Yeah.
And this one goes over, under.
And these are the two
And
that
you-
are twisting.
And yeah, and so you're doing so that then you're weaving this one, and then you're weaving this one, and then you're weaving this one. You have to have this one come into the center, and then do the next one over,
I see.
under, right? And then bring it into the center, and then this one goes outside, over, under. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
The same here.
Yeah, so you did the same thing I just described here, where you are weaving them next to each other. So, but right now, you've got it. This you got back to the twist, right? So this stays in the center. You hold it there, and then this one goes over under. And then that stays to the center, and that one goes on the outside of it.
Okay. Now, this is in the center, and this.
So you that's not the right way. So go back. Just like that. Pull this one up. Okay, so this one has to go. I'm trying to figure out the vocabulary that's going to make sense. So this one has to be pulled to the center, but under this one.
Under this one.
Under this one.
Under.
Yes. Yes. And then do that one. And pull it up. Yep.
And this is.
On the outside, that was right. That was perfect. Nope.
Okay. I see.
Yes. So on the outside, and then
Okay.
under.
And then. This at the center.
That stays.
And this under this one.
Yes. Yes.
And then.
And now
I
you're going to
need
want to add
a
a new
one.
one, yeah, because it's breaking. So I would actually go back one to add because
Yeah.
you want it to be in between the three. It'll stay better right now. When you get farther along, that won't matter. But if you go back to where it's coming out right here, it's going to lock. It's going to lock there better.
Okay.
And then when you do the next one, it's going to lock it in place.
Okay. So this
It
is
goes over
gonna-
one, under one.
This is under.
Yes, yes.
And
yes,
we need another here.
Not
no?
quite yet. I would
Not
do it
quite
because
yet.
you don't want it to happen right here.
Okay.
Like that was the same as before, for just right now. So you just kind of hold this one with your fingers under here. Get that back in there. And so just hold your fingers there. Yes. And then this one goes over one, under one.
I see.
Yes, yes. That's exactly right.
And then this
Uh-huh.
go under that.
Yes. And then now might be a good time to add the next one. So that one goes over one. And where would it come out? If it went under one, where would the one that's down come out? This one's going to stay here.
And We need another one.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. And this is going to here.
Yes.
One into
Two. You want
place.
over one?
Over
No,
one.
that one stays there. You're
Okay.
leaving this one.
Okay.
So over one.
Over
Under
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
And this one.
Yeah, on the outside. See? Do you see the difference? So with this particular basket, we're not doing a separate base. Our base is just going to be woven into our sides. So there's a lot of ways that one can do that. We're kind of winging it right now because it's been a long time since I've done that. But you can pull all your uprights up. And as we do that, I realize maybe we should have started a little longer. You can always cut, but you can't add, or not at this point in the basket. And we want to start encouraging these to go up at some point. And so if you have even a third of them and tie them so they don't get in the way with the weave, that's one way that one can do it. We're going to figure out what we're going to tie that with or do that with at some point soon. Yep, yep, yep. You've got a little fork there. This one.
Yeah.
Got it tight. And if you trim that fork, it won't happen every single time you weave. You know what I mean? Get to make, a basket. 'Cause-
Yeah, with a lot of things like this, that's how I am until all of a sudden it makes sense. It's like kind of like riding a
So it
bike or
happened early for you then.
learning something new, and then otherwise it's like dyslexic, like I don't know what I'm doing, and then as soon as you start getting it, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, and this is something to be very easily dyslexic on.
Yeah.
But you got,
It's fun.
You definitely got it.
It's fun.
So I feel like I'm getting to the point where I need to start doing my rim, or I'm not going to have enough room for my rim. So I'm getting to the point where I need to kind of stop weaving, or I'm not going to have enough of my uprights to do a rim. And we can do a super, super simple rim where it just goes behind one, but I like to kind of go behind one and in front of another one. So this is gonna be my last weaver, and then I'll wait till you guys get to that point. Okay, so I'm going to go behind this one. We're doing a new weave because she's got room, and it's called whaling. So I'm going to put 3 in at a time, and we're going to go behind and stuff down and then come out. And I'm going to do that 3 times. So we're kind of hiding our ends inside. And then the weave is going to be in front of 2 and behind 1. And you see it comes out 1 over from the last one.
Okay.
So you just do that over and over. This one is going to go in front of, this counts as 1. 1, 2, and behind
this.
1.
Okay. Like that. And then this in front
Yep.
and behind this.
Yes, yes.
And then
I'm in your safety circle.
You're in my safety circle.
Exactly, you got it.
Okay.
And in a little bit, you'll see the difference in the weave, right?
Okay.
So you're twisting
Nice.
3 instead of twisting 2.
Ah. Right here.
No, you
Oh.
want to go over
Okay.
here, or it'll pop out. But this one, you want to go right there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So Violetta is ready to do her rim, and so you want to find one that's pretty flexible. Like for me, you can feel this one. It's pretty flexible.
Yeah.
And you want that. Pick one like that. Your most flexible one.
Maybe this one.
Okay. So you want to start to
Yeah.
the right of that one. That's going to be the last one that you do. You want that flexibility to be able to finish
Oh, yeah.
the basket. So start to the right
This
of that,
one.
and you're going to take it and go in front of one, and then behind the next one, and then just leave it there. But you want it to go behind, so you can trim it there.
Here.
Yeah, and in the middle. Yeah. And you won't necessarily have to trim all of them. And then the next one to the right, so this one, you want to do again in front of one and behind. And so that one you won't have to trim because it's already short enough. Yeah, it's thicker than the next one. So that one you want to go, I'll hold it for you, in front and behind. Yeah. And you're going to do that all the way around.
Front
Uh-huh.
and behind.
Yeah. But you've gone far enough, you can trim them later.
In front and behind. And this is again, not to...
Uh-huh. I would go ahead and do this one. Because that's the next one that you're doing. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is almost the last. I would go ahead and trim, if you move your finger, just so that we have you do the front behind.
Front and behind.
And I'm gonna go ahead and take that off, yeah.
In front.
And the behind is this one, right? So I would just stuff it down there for now, right? So now we're at the very end, the last one, right? So you're gonna go in front, turn it towards you so you can see it. So this is the one you want to go in front of, right? So this is the one I want to go in front of. So this is the flexible one, ideally, that you can kind of bend around and poke in there so that it goes, so it's this one here. That's the upright, you can kind of see it. Yeah, exactly. You got it.
Okay.
Pull it all the way in. And other than trimming, you now have a finished basket. And then you
Now we
can
need
trim
to-
off.
So these are the baskets you guys made in the workshop?
Yes, I made this basket,
Yo hice esta. This is mine.
and Sherilyn, who taught us how to weave, made that one.
Fue muy fácil, al principio un poco difícil porque no sabíamos cómo empezar, pero después de empezar fue creciendo y creciendo, ya está.
Exactly. It's like once you got it started, it came together, and then you could form it and make it into a bowl. It was a lot of fun, and not too difficult.
Not too difficult.
No.
We recommend it
Yeah.
at all.